there is bipartisan hope of getting it done. This year, the Senate passed an immigration reform bill by a wide bipartisan majority, and it addresses the key issues that need to be addressed. It would strengthen our borders. It would level the playing field by holding employers accountable if they knowingly hire undocumented workers. It would modernize our legal immigration system so that we eliminate the backlog of family visas and make it easier to attract highly skilled entrepreneurs from beyond our borders. It would make sure that everybody plays by the same rules by providing a pathway to earn citizenship for those who are living in the shadows. A path that includes passing a background check and learning English and paying taxes and a penalty and getting in line behind everyone trying to come here the right way. And each of these pieces would go a long way towards fixing our broken immigration system. Each of them has been supported by Democrats and Republicans in the past. There's no reason we can't come together and get it done. And what's more, we know the immigration reform that we're proposing would boost our economy and shrink our deficits. Independent economists have said that if the Senate bill became law over the next 2 decades, our economy would grow by $1.4 trillion more, and it would reduce our deficits by $850 billion more. And you don't have to be an economist to figure out that workers will be more productive if they've got their families here with them. They're not worried about deportation. They're not living halfway around the world. This isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. Right now, it's up to Republicans in the House to decide if we can move forward as a country on this bill. If they don't want to see it happen, they've got to explain why. The good news is, just this past week, Speaker Boehner said that he is hopeful we can make progress on immigration reform. And that is good news. I believe the Speaker is sincere. I think he genuinely wants to get it done. And that's something we should be thankful for this week. And I think there are a number of other House Republicans who also want to get this done. Some of them are hesitant to do it in one big bill like the Senate did. That's okay. They can, it's Thanksgiving. Yeah, we can carve that bird into multiple pieces.
Most people believe that the biggest hurdle will be the path to citizenship. Yeah. You have clearly said that it must be included from the outset. Senator Marco Rubio says that he will not support a bill that does not put border security ahead of citizenship. Is this going to end up being a battle between you and Marco Rubio?
No, I don't think so. Look, we've put border security ahead of pathway to citizenship. We have done more on border security in the last 4 years than we had done in the previous 20. We've seen a drop in terms of illegal crossings of about 80% since 2000. We have made enormous strides, put resources in. We've actually done almost everything that Republicans asked to be done several years ago as a condition to move forward on comprehensive immigration reform. So given that that's the case, it's not as if we haven't been attentive to border security, and we will continue to be attentive to border security. What we don't want to do is to create some vague prospect in the future that somehow comprehensive immigration reform that includes a pathway to citizenship will happen, mañana. We want to make sure that we're very clear that this legislation provides a real pathway. Now, that pathway will take some time. Even under our proposal, this is not a situation where overnight suddenly people all find themselves as citizens. They're going to have to earn their way to it, and they're going to have to go to the back of the line. We're going to have to clear out the existing lines, backlog that we have in terms of legal immigrants, because they did it the right way. We shouldn't punish them for not breaking the law. So all those things are going to have to be put in place, but we have to put that into place at the outset and make sure that people are clear that this pathway is real and not just a fantasy for the future.
Last time we spoke, you said that you weren't king, you were president. There were only certain things you could do unilaterally. As time goes on, 1,000 deportations on average a day, people are wondering, and our Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds, that's the question everybody asks. Won't you at least consider unilaterally freezing deportations for the parents of deferred action kids?
Yeah. Here's the problem that I have, Jose, and I've said this consistently. My job in the executive branch is supposed to be to carry out the laws that are passed. Congress has said, here's the law when it comes to those who are undocumented, and they allocate a whole bunch of money for enforcement. And what I have been able to do is to make a legal argument that I think is absolutely right, which is that given the resources we have, we can't do everything that Congress has asked us to do. What we can do is then carve out the DREAM Act folks, saying young people who have basically grown up here are Americans that we should welcome. We're not going to have them operate under a cloud, under a shadow. But if we start broadening that, then essentially I would be ignoring the law in a way that I think would be very difficult to defend legally. So that's not an option, and I do get a little worried that advocates of immigration reform start losing heart and immediately thinking, well, somehow there's an out here. If Congress doesn't act, we'll just have the president sign something and that'll take care of it and we won't have to worry about it. What I've said is that there's a path to get this done, and that's through Congress. And right now, everybody should be focused on making sure that that bill that's already passed out of the Senate hits the floor of the House of Representatives. It's not as if the votes are not there. Right. The votes are there. The only thing that's preventing it is, the Speaker Boehner's decided that he doesn't want to call it right now.
For about 2 weeks, the Border Patrol has refused to allow reporters and cameras into facilities where agents are housing hundreds of immigrant children. But today we finally got a look.
The Border Patrol allowed only one video camera into holding centers in Nogales and in McAllen, Texas. It comes out as Border Patrol faces claims of bad conditions for the children. Not in Your Side's Craig Smith was able to take his own tour of the Nogales complex, and he joins us live from Nogales.
Guy, a large group of reporters was allowed to come into this facility in Nogales, but under strict ground rules as a condition for entry. No cameras, at least no cameras we control directly, no sound recordings of any sort, and no questions. What we saw does track what we saw in pictures taken in secret days before. Kids in chain link holding areas using foil blankets. But now we have context and explanation. Agents say the foil blankets, for instance, reduce the chance of allergic reactions. They say the facility was not set up hastily to cope with a glut of immigrant children. They say it is a facility built about the year 2000 for adult detainees, converted when the need arose to house hundreds of children. There are systems set up for showers and clean clothes every 24 hours, health checks, healthful meals, and opportunities for play. The El Salvador government sent a senior official to check on the children from that country.
Naturally, as a government, we're concerned that the minors are being treated this way. We're not accusing the government of the United States that they're not trying their best efforts, but we can do. More can be done.
No one suggested it's a great situation, but why did Border Patrol wait so long to offer a look to refute claims of abuse? Border Patrol did not answer that question during the tour, so we asked Agent Art Del Cuerto of the Border Patrol Union.
You know what I think? I think a lot of it has to do, and unfortunately I see it all the time as a union representative, you always get the bad news out first, right? They weren't calling the shots, they were coming from D.C. It's up to D.C. That's something that you guys are seriously going to have to ask, people up in D.C.
Now, that union rep says agents caring for the children volunteered for that duty, but he worries that because they are not out there on the front lines, that border protection itself is likely to suffer. We'll hear more on that new at 6. Reporting live from Nogales, Craig Smith, KGUN 9, on your side.
Thanks, Craig.
everybody. It is great to be back in California. And it is there, just within our grasp. If we can just get folks in Washington to go ahead and do what needs to be done, we're going to grow our economy, we're going to make our country more secure, we'll strengthen our families, and most importantly, we will live up. Most importantly, we will live up. Most importantly, we will live up to our character as a nation. That's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
Every single day.
That's why we're here.
President, please use your executive order to halt deportation for all 11.5 undocumented immigrants in this country right now. We agree that we need to pass comprehensive immigration reform. At the same time, you have a power to stop deportation for all undocumented immigrants
Actually, I don't.
in this country.
And that's why we're here.
I need your help.
Okay.
Stop deportation!
Thank you. All right. What I'd like to do. No, don't worry about it, guys. Okay, let me finish. Let me. How about these guys don't need to go. Let me finish. No. He can stay there. Let me. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. So, I respect the passion of these young people because they feel deeply about the concerns for their families. Now, what you need to know when I'm speaking as President of the United States and I come to this community is that if, in fact, I could solve all these problems without passing laws in Congress, then I would do so. But we're also a nation of laws. That's part of our tradition. And so the easy way out is to try to yell and pretend like I can do something by violating our laws. And what I'm proposing is the harder path, which is to use our democratic processes to achieve the same goal that you want to achieve. But it won't be as easy as just shouting. It requires us lobbying and getting it done. So for those of you who are committed to getting this done, I am going to march with you and fight with you every step of the way to make sure that we are welcoming every striving, hard-working immigrant who sees America the same way we do. The issue is not that people are evading our enforcement officials. The issue is that we're apprehending them in large numbers. And we're working to make sure that we have sufficient facilities to detain, house, and process them appropriately. While we intend to do the right thing by these children, their parents need to know that this is an incredibly dangerous situation, and it is unlikely that their children will be able to stay. And I've asked parents across Central America not to put their children in harm's way in this fashion.
The President of the United States did an interview with George Stephanopoulos of ABC News. He's been criticized by some Republicans, saying the reason more than 50,000 young kids have come to the border and tried to get into the United States illegally, sent by their parents from Guatemala and Honduras. Some Republicans have suggested there's an open border policy or the president hasn't been tough enough. Listen to these tough words here.
Our message absolutely is don't send your children unaccompanied on trains or through a bunch of smugglers. We don't even know how many of these kids don't make it and may have been waylaid into sex trafficking or killed because they fell off a train. We have no way of tracking that. So that is our direct message to the families in Central America. Do not send your children to the borders. If they do make it, they'll get sent back. More importantly, they may not make it.
What's the president trying to accomplish here?
They're trying to stem this influx, and I think this took them by surprise. And you've seen them try to tighten other parts of their immigration policy. They've also postponed some plans to loosen the policies a little bit. They're really scrambling to deal with this, and this is just the latest example of trying to stem this flow back into the country.
And the president says they will be sent back, Olivier, but there's a process they have to follow. U.S. law requires them to take care of their health issues and make sure you can reunite them with their families. If they're from Guatemala or Honduras, that could be a long process.
And that's leading to a lot of charges of de facto amnesty, of de facto letting these kids stay in America, because by the time you've done all that, by the time you've taken care of them and you've tried to find responsible grown-ups to whom they can effectively be shipped, be deported to, you know, they've spent a lot of time in the United States. There are a lot of questions about some of these kids not showing up for court dates, not showing up for the process, and not going back.
In case you missed it, it's all Donald Trump's fault. Everything. Name something bad, he's the reason. Climate change, his fault. Asteroids, his fault. Earthquakes, those faults are his faults. A little wordplay for Saturday nights. You don't get that on Water's World. Every bad thing ever. I love Jesse. Everything bad ever is on the head of this evil orange monster from hell. Especially if you're the media. Take these images of immigrant children sleeping in cages. Journalists, politicians, Obama flacks, they all blame Trump. Turns out the photos are 4 years old when Obama was in charge. Whoops. Then there's, this is even better, this photo. An all-baby seat immigration detention bus, also blamed on Trump. It was called a prison bus for babies. by an anchor, a prison bus for babies. How could anyone say that with a straight face and believe it? A journalist. I mean, who would make a prison bus for babies? It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. A prison bus for babies. But you'll believe anything if you hate Trump, even though this photo was also from Obama's era, and no, it wasn't a prison bus for babies. It's for a field trip. Anyway, now you'd expect the media to check the date on a photo. I mean, that is their job, to check actual facts. It's almost as though they need some kind of help.
Hey, Tom, what's up?
Look at this. Immigrant children sleeping in cages on the floor. And how about this? A prison bus just for babies. If this doesn't prove how evil and heartless Donald Trump is, nothing will.
Well, I just looked it up, and that cage photo is from 2014. And that bus, it's for field trips, and it's from April 2016.
Wow. Just think, I was about to tweet this out to the public.
Sounds like you need a Veriscope.
What's that?
The Veriscope will help you see things clearly for what they really are, without an agenda. But first, I need to test you. I'll show you some pictures. Tell me if you see any news value in them.
That's a soldier getting rowdy during Fleet Week. It's Trump's fault.
It's 1945, the day we won World War II. Try this one.
That's a woman upset about the current political climate. I can tell because she's not smiling.
It's Mona Lisa, 1503. How about this one?
I'll recognize that anywhere. That's the day Trump was elected. I saw that guy in Brooklyn.
It's the Scream, 1893. Last one.
That's a monster attacking Japan. You see, Trump is even terrorizing foreign countries.
It's Godzilla. Well, the good news is you do qualify for a Veriscope.
Wow. Does it have special powers?
No, it's just a giant magnifying glass, but it will help you pull your head out of your ass.
Ever since I started using Veriscope, I approach everything with more honesty.
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Hey, Carl. Seeing your stupid face is the worst part of my day. Thanks, Veriscope.
Veriscope, for when you need to check your facts before you tweet something stupid.
Now, first off, David, Tom Shalhoub has the best walking around a corner into a hallway look of any commercial actor. I think you could learn something from him.
He is known through the industry.
Yes, for walking down the hall.
Specialty move, yeah.
Yeah, you're angry. This bothers you. I've seen you on Twitter, not as much anymore, but you hate when there's a false story. You get very upset.
Yeah, the news media is awful.
Yes.
And we all used to know that.
Yeah.
5 years ago, you'd be like, CNN's terrible. And everyone would be like, yeah, we know that. And now you're like, CNN's terrible because Trump hates them. We all got to be like, oh, no, they're great. We have to uphold this First Amendment and all this stuff. It's like, no. Have you seen Don Lemon's show? That's not journalism. His entire show is people, an expert panel, explaining to him what happened on Anderson Cooper.
So true. That is so true.
You're in trouble now.
Kat, isn't it just easier to blame Trump for everything? I'm sure some of your own disappointments in life you could trace to Trump.
I'm going to start doing that.
Yes.
This whole thing where I get upset with myself for my bad choices is becoming very exhausting. And this whole thing where I've apologized when I've done something wrong, I'm not doing that anymore. Next time I do something wrong, I'm just going to blame it on Trump. And I know that a huge segment of the population will apparently believe me without even checking.
Yes.
I'm never going to say, hey, like, sorry, I don't know, vaped on your baby on accident. You know, for example. I'll just say that Trump made me do it, and the next thing you know, I'll be some sort of victim.
I vaped on your baby.
Is that a euphemism? Sometimes they come out of nowhere.
Yes, the babies come
They
at
come
you
out of
while
nowhere.
you're vaping.
Yeah.
I vaped on a baby. Tyrus, there's so many examples of this, like when an entire opinion shifts when you introduce one variable, like prison reform. Prison reform, Trump was for that, but liberals weren't because Trump was for it. It's weird.
Yeah, well, it was the question. The question was weird.
You've been here for 3 years. I never ask questions.
Okay, no, you asked me the questions. This is weird because it's not about black people in sports. I'm
Oh.
all like he does it.
Wow.
Like I'm the leading official on Dennis Rodman and Whoopi Goldberg for him. It's classic. I don't know, man. It's it's convenient, but this is what if you listen to the people there. These are the same people that when Obama was in, everything that happened to him was Obama's fault. Like there's just a certain sect of people that everything in their life is not their fault. And whenever you have a conversation with, they usually lead with statements like, "You made me upset," or "It's because of you that I'm screaming loud and not going to bed at a decent time and always making our relationship difficult. It's you." So, I mean, I don't know if anyone knows anybody like that, but I've come across a few people. It's not necessarily Donald Trump. He's just convenient now.
Yeah.
He's the new, Trump's the new Munson. You know what I mean? I got Trumped out in the middle of nowhere. You know, Trump is the easy guy to blame. And if you blame him for something and he hears you, chances are he'll fight you back.
Yeah.
So you get your audience,
Yeah.
you know?
In a weird way, Trump is like the weather. Trump is like the weather. You walk outside, it's, Trump!
Yep.
Well, but I mean, right. I mean, I guess that's, I don't know if you do that, but I mean, to be fair, I mean, Trump also takes credit for everything.
That's true.
So he says, only I can fix it. I alone can do this. So in a way, it's a perfect relationship with him and the media. They're getting the president they desperately, desperately deserve, and they're getting it good and hard.
Very good point. You know, solution for cable news, they got to get rid of like the lower thirds that say Republican political consultant or a Democratic analyst.
Strategist or whatever it is.
Get rid of that. Just go, I hate Trump. And then, like, I'm okay with the guy because that's basically what it is, guys. Most of America's like, hey, let's see what happens, as he says so many times. But the other side is, I can't stand him. Thank God that never happens on the 5.
No.